This is Brian from Fourth Hour Pop Literature, and this was my second book I read, and it was The Kite Runner. And I did a project on an illustration because I felt that would be the best way to represent my understanding and comprehension of the book, and I felt it was a good way to show more of my creative side. So let's examine my poster. I drew the tree that was in the Kite Runner of Amir and Hassan, the Sultans of Kabul, which they wrote on the tree that stayed throughout the entire book. I drew the left with leaves and the pomegranates because this was symbolizing the coming of the age essence of Amir, and all the good quotes that show him developing throughout the story are on the left. And some of my favorite ones are on the top and the bottom. I'm using a pillow to hold it up. It says, "For you 1,000 times over." And then this is bare and it's darker, and this is black on the outside for the quotes, showing he didn't really change, or man versus society kind of. To get more depth, I'll explain some of the quotes I have. I think it'd be easiest to start off with page 1. There's a way to be good again. This was on page 1 right from the beginning because it was kind of told through flashbacks of kind of like flashbacks from Amir's perspective, and Rahim Khan said that to Amir in the beginning, and it was symbolizing that you can change, you can develop as a person and build character, and meaning he can redeem himself, and in the end Amir does in many ways, and it teaches them so many lessons about loyalty and how Hassan acted. And then let's go to the bad side rather. On this quote from page 34, it says, "What does he know, that illiterate Hazara? He'll never be anything but a cook. How dare he criticize you?" And that was on page 34. It was showing the typical stereotype of, the genocidal hatred to another race or culture based on religion, and it's showing the man versus society perspective, in which entails that people will genuinely hate people for beliefs or these based on their religions throughout the entire book, which is quite evident in many details. And another quote from the good side was, "One corner of his mouth had curled up just so, a smile lopsided, hardly there but there," on page 370. This was a really important quote because this shows in the beginning how Hassan had a cleft lip kind of, and Baba paid for a surgery to get it fixed, and in the end, he ends up getting a messed up lip, cleft lip kind of, and it just shows like how the same theme goes throughout from the beginning to the end. Like another example would be the leader of the Taliban's dog said he had a one-eyed German Shepherd, and he ended up having one eye because of Amir. So a lot of foreshadowing happens throughout the book. I have many other quotes on here. A couple more. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 10 quotes on here. Most of it's pretty symbolic and interpretive. I'm doing a video just to show more clarity and what I felt was important. Now, I understand I said I was going to do a project on the debate aspect of it, because a lot of this entailed history, and it was from like more of a hypothetical scenario throughout the book, so it showed like a lot of ethos appeal, like try to get you emotionally involved in the book, because this could happen, and I'm sure it's happened to people being displaced over Afghanistan, not specifically in the whole background story. So you could go to the extent and say it's based on a true story, which is quite revelating and scary at the same time equally. Yeah, I said I was going to do a debate project on it, but I didn't have the camera to do it. But I do have this. On my topic was NATO's presence improves the lives of Afghan citizens, and it looks at daily life of Afghan. And I qualified for the Catholic League. I still got another tournament to do, but just showing that I actually know like the history behind it. I think it's really cool to see how a lot of the events they're talking about, even though they don't really go in great detail, you can still draw your own conclusions if you know the history of Afghanistan and how Afghanistan's based on a nomadic country and it has different tribal organizations and how they view other governments as illegitimate authorities. That's the reasons for resistance. But not only that, it shows how corrupt their government was then and still is, with Karzai in place now, and how there's so much genocide going on, and how a lot of people are being displaced. For example, I was reading the news the other day, according to I think it's CNN, 320,000 Afghan citizens have fled to Pakistan due to the Taliban presence and the Karzai government being so corrupt. According to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, 1/3 of Afghans' income goes to bribery, and according to the CIA World Factbook, that's $160 on average of equivalent to US dollars, and they only make about equivalent to US dollars $460 a year-ish, 425 per capita. So that's 1/3 of their income going directly to a corrupt government. And Karzai's brother, for example, is holding millions of dollars and building their own money for their own bureaucrats, just showing their own corrupt government to go into greater detail. That's why I really liked the book, because I wanted to read it because it was relevant to my debate topic, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I felt it was one of my favorite books of all time, really. There's so many great life lessons about loyalty and just guilt in general. Like, I can relate to a lot of like the guilt things in the book, I feel. And yeah, a lot of the quotes are pretty straightforward. I think that's pretty much it. Thanks. Bye.